Usually when older people get health problems, they happen fast and have a quickly noticeable effect on their body. So is this actually from today or is this fake? Like, what happened? Because I don't believe this. I feel like there's something weird going on with Donald Trump, and we'll talk about it. But like, he is not his usual cheery, constantly in front of the camera self. And maybe we have developed some semblance of parasocial relationship with the president. But it does feel like he's given us so much of himself for so long, sometimes when we don't want him to do so, that when he's not on camera, his absence is felt. I mean, like, when he's not on camera, when he's not out and about, it kind of feels very strange. Kind of feels like he might have gotten a stroke or something. Like, remember, even through the heat of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, at the peak of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, right? When everybody was yelling at him, when everybody was like, when his base was like, dude, are you a pedophile? What's going on? He posted through it. He was live and in front of the cameras every damn day. He never stopped. This is the first time he has not been live and in front of the cameras every damn day. And I don't know why. It kind of feels like maybe he got a little strokey poo. Maybe his stroke game updated. I don't know. I believe there's growing evidence of the White House covering up the fact that Donald Trump has been dealing with TIA strokes and that he likely had another ischemic stroke this week. Yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into Donald Trump's health complications and how BlueAnon is going crazy. Too raw, too Daniel. What if they're not letting Trump speak because he had a reverse Fetterman stroke and he's woke now? Many people are saying, even the local milk people, that gender is a construct. Look, we have a little fun at these rallies, don't we, folks? But I want to acknowledge first that this is stolen land. I want to acknowledge we are sitting on stolen Iroquois land. All I'm saying is this is a likely reality. So there's two different brackets here, okay? There's two different brackets here. On the one hand, you got people like this, and myself as well, making jokes, okay? Cracking jokes. On the other hand, you got a lot of people getting offended by people cracking jokes, being like, you're wishing ill on the president. How dare you? And it's like, that's been very funny to watch, because I love when right-wingers who will be like, we must murder every transgender person, will then in the same breath turn around and be like, how dare you? How dare you make light of my big, beautiful president who wants to murder all transgender people and all Guatemalans? How dare you? How dare you even joke about that? And it's like, I don't know, everything you do is violent. Like, can't we just have a little bit of fun? Like, what the So on the one hand, there's a lot of people having fun with this, understandably, because, you know, Trump is he's a, let's just say, somewhat controversial figure. Is that fair? I think that's fair to say. He is a somewhat controversial figure, right? I'm thinking maybe he's not a very good guy. You know, he's a little divisive. So when you're a little divisive, you got a lot of lovers and you got a lot of haters. And of course, a lot of people are excited at the prospect of, divine intervention of some sort. So they're taking their sweet time with it. They're deriving a lot of enjoyment out of it. Some people like Felix Biederman are saying, this is so evocative. This is exactly how it feels when you have all the moisture in your body beaten out of you by harsh hotel AC. This picture gives me a sympathetic cracking around my lips. Anyway, it would be funny to ask him to do burpees to prove he isn't dying soon. And yet you have, some of the most annoying heads who actively, like, there's that one, the Korean dude, right? I think he's Korean, that's like constantly posting like the most racist white supremacist nonsense you've ever seen. Okay, he was going crazy. He was like complaining. He's like, you see, the left would be wishing ill of a man who is a grandfather and a father to many children. Kang Min Lee, that guy. Oh my Lord, not Ollie London, dude. No, the Korean Ian Miles Chong, basically. But yeah, this was funny. This was a funny Connor tweet. When everybody was spamming on Twitter all the way from Friday night into the entire weekend that Trump was dead, people were getting these news. Some people were receiving these news and reacting very differently than you were, okay? One of those people is Aiden Ross.
Trump has not been seen in days with no public appearances scheduled this weekend.
Oh, shit. Because you saw what happened with his hand?
No, what happened with his hand?
He was, like, doing an interview, and they saw his hand, and it was, like, purple. And they said the queen died when her hands were like that.
Wait, what?
I don't know what it... Like,
yo, everyone's saying Trump is passing away. He's passed.
Let me shut up, bro.
Yeah, actually, shh, don't talk about it. Yeah. What the f?
Black hat just getting on, bro. Let him know when you're ready. Oh, God.
Dude, that's his friend, man. Shame on y'all for cracking jokes about this. I just realized that there's going to be a tsunami of people posting absurd levels of grief when the day comes. Yeah, but it will be washed away with a tsunami of pleasure and excitement. I think like this is a load-bearing figure in modern American politics, and I think it's going to be a very unique, very, very unique moment. I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be a lot more celebration than there will be sadness. Okay, there's going to be a lot more celebration than there is sadness. It is very obvious to me that perhaps some Americans who are on the liberal side of politics see Donald Trump as like the singular force for all of the awfulness that they're experiencing, and don't understand that he is just like a normal continuation of unlimited reactionary sentiment, and therefore they falsely attribute all of the issues to Donald Trump as the singular force, instead of recognizing that this is there is a duopoly here. There is a bipartisan compromise here for many of the issues that people face. Now, of course, there are, as is the case with You Can't Have Nice Things, hate to be the bearer of bad news, even though that is precisely my job. Trump's demise would lead to J.D. Vance's ascent. And I don't think J.D. Vance is capable of securing the base of support in a popular contest. I don't think that he would win. But if Trump were to somehow pass away, that would be truly terrifying, because that's the only way J.D. Vance is going to actually hold on to a higher lever of power. And then we would truly know what it's like to have President Palantir, President Peter Thiel, Supreme Enforcer. That is definitely a real fear that I have. So we can't have nice things, basically. Okay, that's my point. We just cannot have nice things ever. I'm going to dive into the BlueAnon conspiracies, as you guys know. While we were out celebrating and making jokes about Trump, you know, just people basically memeing that Trump is dead, okay? And the right-wingers were getting upset that people were memeing that Trump is dead. BlueAnon was taking it sincerely. Here's Adam Cochran, investor, professor, policy consultant, author, independent investigative journalist, and father, trying to make the world suck less. This is a 31-tweet Twitter thread from Adam Cochran. Now, if you're old enough in this community and you were around for Trump 1, you remember there were figures similar to this. There were BlueAnon figures back in the day as well. Seth Abramson comes to mind. He was one of the prominent Trump guys. Okay, there were a bunch of these guys that like had gotten their brains broken with Russiagate stuff, so they would almost always tie everything back. Louise Mensch, as another good one. They would always tie everything back to like, Donald Trump's having gay sex with Vladimir Putin. Now, those guys haven't been as active or as prominent in Trump 2, but they were a important fixture. They were an important fixture of the BlueAnon movement in Trump 1. They were a prominent feature of the resistance against Donald Trump in Trump 1. Nowadays, they're not around as much. They're not as visible. They're not as loud. But every now and then, something like this gets out of control, it snowballs, and it becomes this like massive thing. Or maybe I just don't see the BlueAnon people because it's not on my Twitter timeline. They're still here. BlueAnon, in most circumstances, can have a firm commitment to the fact that the election was stolen by Trump, and that SpaceX and the Starlink Elon Musk connection actually played a role in changing the outcome of votes. They think that there are like vote count disparities. Reddit / Something Is Wrong 2024 is one of the largest subreddits where you can tap in to what the BlueAnon guys are up to. They believe that Elon Musk hacked the election for Donald Trump. This is one of those threads. There was another prominent blue MAGA, BlueAnon thread that we looked at a while back that accused J.D. Vance of being a child rapist. That one got like hundreds of thousands of likes. If you remember, this guy came out and was like, I have evidence. J.D. Vance, the child rapist, that's why he changed his name. And I'm going to prove it. That was awesome. That was crazy. They went nutty for that one for a little bit. Sus, weirdly informed. I am a enjoyer of every different type of political curio, and American politics is a target-rich environment for that kind of thing. So I believe there's growing evidence that the White House is covering up the fact that Donald Trump has been dealing with TIA strokes. strokes and that he likely had more significant ischemic strokes this week. Let's start with the basics. TIAs are temporary blockages. You'll see symptoms, leg dragging, eye drooping, etc., but they resolve within 24 hours. Ischemic strokes leave a lasting impact, but can range dramatically in scope and severity. TIAs precede an ischemic stroke in about 30% of patients and often result in a long-lasting interventions to try and prevent any risk of a larger stroke. Now, let's get to what paints this picture with Trump. In March 2024, Ron Filipkowski notes that Trump has been dragging his right leg for a while. It's something we've seen him do on and off over this past year, but not super notable on its own. Let's take a look. I see a sexy man doing a sexy dance, for the record. I see a sexy man doing a sexy dance. I don't know what these haters are saying that he's dragging his right feet. 531. Then in Time magazine interview from right after the election, we see the first note of Trump's hand bruising. Once again, something people didn't think much of at the time. Sitting under the bright lights for a 30-minute photo session ahead of a 65-minute interview, he's asked to explain the bruising on his right hand. It's from shaking hands with thousands of people, he says. It comes up again during the Macron visit on February 25th, 2025, where Caroline Leavitt repeats the lie about it being from shaking too many hands. The next medical event we see is the president's annual physical report. Comparing the medication list to his old reports, we notice that there are 3 new medications: rosuvastatin, ezetimibe, and a daily aspirin. Well, the daily aspirin is normal, but I don't know what the these two things are. What is it's for cholesterol control, apparently. And the daily aspirin at that age is normal. It's for mitigating some sort of heart condition. You know what I mean? You just chew aspirin, I think. The daily aspirin is not normal. No, old people take daily aspirin, don't they? To make sure they don't have some kind of heart condition. Anyway. Let's continue. At first, I thought this might be normal medication for managing cholesterol, but I've certainly heard of preventative aspirin use in the past, but I decided to interview some heart specialists, and I'm glad I did. There are 2 general takeaways I heard from multiple specialists. Daily aspirin is not recommended for prevention anymore. An aspirin regime is treating something. Ezetimibe, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I'm definitely not saying it right. Is a second-line medication not used for regular LDL treatment. Statins like rosuvastatin will manage cholesterol alone, whereas ezetimibe will be used as a second line if the patient is at high cardiovascular risk, such as prior strokes, heart attacks, or arterial disease. Then is used for stroke prevention. Trump's previous medical reports claim his cardiovascular health is great and is on the statin, so he shouldn't need ezetimibe. But this also brings us to the aspirin. As it turns out, aspirin has been advised as a daily course prevention method for quite a while. Hasn't been advised. Some old doctors may still incorrectly prescribe it as such, but qualified medical staff who keep up with the literature wouldn't. A daily aspirin dose is now used as a blood thinner for specific lines of treatment, including in managing ischemic strokes. Then in June, we see Trump's swollen ankles, and for the first time, the White House medical team is willing to admit he's got CVI. His bruising is related to aspirin regime and shaking hands. 1431. Ezetimibe. Other name for it is Zetia. Okay, I'm just going to say Zetia. They keep coming back to this claim that aspirin does indeed make bruising easier. There's 3 problems with this claim. Bruising is seen on both hands, not just his dominant hand. The next problem, CVI is not a sudden onset issue, and swollen ankles is an intermediate symptom. An annual physical in April would have caught CVI back then if ankles were going to be swelling, and aspirin isn't CVI treatment. But third, some of the bruising is monthly, usually around the 24th. Check the dates. It seems much more likely the president is being monitored monthly for something, and then also occasionally getting an emergency IV as well. I could totally see that, by the way. BlueAnon conspiracy aside, I could see that bruising being a consequence of getting monthly, monthly IVs. So what does this all mean? When a patient has had a TIA, they have temporary symptoms but would have been started on aspirin, these medications to prevent future ischemic stroke risk, just like we see with Trump. The patient having TIAs may have temporary symptoms for 24 hours afterwards, including face drooping, leg dragging, or trouble walking in a straight line. This was weird. Oh my God, it's working. It's working on me. It's working on me. I'm believing it now. I'm a BlueAnon guy. I'm a truther. He's dead. He's been cloned. Patients who experience very mild strokes that are not on TIA, such as lac stroke or minor ischemic stroke, may have persistent but barely noticeable symptoms, such as drooping on the lip, eyelid, and eyebrow, which would be on the same side of the leg dragging symptom. I think he's just old, man. That's it. He's just a droopy guy. That's just what happens when gravity takes over. You know what I mean? I think we're reading too much into the tea leaves here, okay? If a patient under White House level medical care was seen having a stroke, they'd be scanned to rule out a hemorrhagic with the White House portable MRI, and then could receive alteplase, a clot busting peripheral IV, often given in the hand for elderly patients. If that patient was on aspirin for cardio risk management and or potential calcium blockers, we'd expect bruising on the hands, swelling on the ankles. If they had a mild ischemic stroke, we'd expect the patient to be on bed rest for 24 to 48 hours by 2 to 3 days, able to take smaller assisted steps. And the patient may have facial droop, flatter facial creases, or their mouth agape due to facial muscle weakness. I mean, this photo doesn't look good. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and act like this is a good photo for him. Okay. He's not exactly the sexiest guy, contrary to what the weirdos who love Donald Trump might claim. He's not exactly the sexiest guy. He's not known to be a looker. Having said that, I think it's cool that we finally have another Brandon. Welcome back, Joe Brandon. It's Brandon 2. Okay, that's it. We got Brandon 2, Brandon 2.0. He's here. Even though they could walk at this time, speech and complex motor skills may still be recovering. And we noticed Trump oddly kept the press pool very far back from the White House and hasn't allowed them on the golf course. We also noticed that he was dressed as the same as the last time he went golfing with Kai, and that MAGA influencers were given an old picture to circulate from January and his other golfing picture from June 27th. Yeah. Also, whenever the administration actually cares about a particular thing, they will release info. They'll info dump to the regular Twitter sphere, right? And they will all turn around and post, President Trump's the best grandpa. Trump looks so young. I love this photo. Okay. It's an old photo. It's an old ass photo. They posted old ass photos. Like they were just like making it seem like he was hanging out with this professional golfer. He was not. You know what I mean? Those same influencers were circulating a video of him in the same outfit, but that one came from June 29th this year. Yeah, this is not a new video. This is an old video, but they were literally circulating this on Saturday as though it was a new video.
Bravo! Hi, Mr. President.
The next picture of him today, this was from yesterday. From afar with continued face droop, he once again spoke with no reporters before going golfing, and both times reporters were confined to the tennis court out of view of his course instead of letting them take pictures like normal. This is a new one. None of this even gets into the other weird events this week, of Vance being ready to take over, or social posts seemingly like they were written by interns. But the motive is clear. They know Vance does not have the same hold over the base of the party nor the Republican Congress. If Vance was president, the admin would get far more pushback. This is true. Under a normal administration, a president having repeated TIAs wouldn't be removed from office, but even a moderate ischemic is likely to impact mental faculties and merit the 25th Amendment being invoked. That's never happening, though, because Democrats are unfortunately too cowardly to do anything against the Trump administration at this point. 25th would be cabinet members, not the Democrats in Congress. Okay, but the cabinet members are obviously not going to do it either. The cabinet members are not going to do it. I'm saying like the Democrats are not going to pressure to pull the 25th button regardless. And also, it didn't happen for Joe Brandon. You know what I mean? My assessment of this kind of situation is usually that like what you see as far as the president health is the most rose-colored version of actual events. No matter who's in charge, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. Okay, that's just how it is. But because Donald Trump is, Mr. I love being in front of the cameras and chopping it up every day, it is unique that he is no longer doing that. This is the reason why a lot of people are going, there is definitely a real health complication. Okay, but given the fact that no matter who's president, the version of the president's health that you see in public is going to be the best possible version, like far better than what is actually happening behind closed doors. This doesn't look too good. Okay, that's all I'm saying. This does not look too good for the president, especially when you got a couple days and you got the entire MAGA Twitter sphere, like people who are directly getting their notes from the administration to say whatever to go against like whatever narratives that are brewing up. And they're all using old ass photos of him and old ass videos of him and being like, dude, he's a beacon of mental health and he's a physical specimen. How dare you? It kind of feels like the truth is the exact opposite of what they're trying to present it as. I feel like this is all wishful thinking. It is. Okay. When it comes down to demands of divine intervention, as a Turkish man, I have been here already. I have experienced this already. Many Turks in the chat will tell you they know exactly how this feels. But what you fail to consider is that evil never dies, and your demands, your wishes for Trump's demise will only power him further. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But anyway, he says, so unless the White House can provide a transparent explanation of his health that better fits these circumstances, I'm forced to conclude that they are lying to the American people and hiding that Trump had a stroke. It's time for the press to push this and get clarity. Oh, look, golf's picture he posted that people thought he was claiming was from today is also from an older date. They're driving him to the golf course and not golfing. It's all ops to cover up something, and it's perfectly clearly a stroke. As pointed out by a reader, Izitimbe was added in the 2020 physical along with an increase in rovastatin when the cholesterol didn't merit any of those. However, this was all around the same time as the president's impromptu physical at Walter Reed, where he felt the need to tell us he didn't have mini strokes. Pretty suspect timing. That's a little update from you guys on Donald Trump's health conditions. He looks like it's not like he ever looked great, but he looks extra like as of late.